What's going on, everybody? Yes, the Scream 6 trailer has dropped. The official poster for Scream 6 has dropped. Have you seen it? Have you watched it? What did you think about it? Where are all the Scream fans out there? Where are all you sumbitches? My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. It is Thursday, January the 19th, 2023, 1:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ooh, it's 1919. It's 11119 to not whatever the hell it is. You know what I'm trying to say. Scream 6. We are just a couple of months away. The official trailers drop, the official posters drop. Let's talk about it. How do we feel about it? Were there any juicy details and insights in the trailer and in the poster that we can look at, that we can try to figure out what's going on and all that kind of stuff? I know, look, I've said this before. I got to say it again. As many of you know, who are tuning in now, who are tuning in after the fact, as many of you know, we are, when there's Halloween stuff to talk about, predominantly a Halloween channel, right? Predominantly. That just means, generally speaking, there's a lot of Halloween shit going down on this channel when there's Halloween stuff to talk about. But what has always surprised me, and to be fair, if there were more Jason things to talk about, and if there were more Freddy Krueger things to talk about, then maybe we would see a rise in Fred heads and Hawk heads all around the world. But there's very little and far and few between to talk. I mean, finally we have Crystal Lake that is on the horizon, but there's besides that, there's been very little in the way of those two big titans. But for whatever reason, and maybe it's because I'm not the biggest Scream fan, I like the first one well enough. I think it's a good movie. I've always really enjoyed it. I like the sequels, fine. They haven't yet had like a colossal failure. I mean, listen, if Scream 3, got like a hair on my nose or something. It's my cat. It's cat hair all over the place. There we go. If Scream 3 is your worst in the franchise so far, you're doing pretty good. You don't have a Halloween 5 or a Resurrection or a Rob Zombies 2, which I know is getting a love in later years, but you know what I mean, right? But what has always surprised me is the amount of craziness for Scream. I didn't realize there was all this Scream, yeah, woo, yeah. I didn't realize you guys existed. I really did. I mean, it's a good movie. I liked it, the first one, and I could see the appeal of the franchise. I didn't realize you guys are like a fucking cult. It's crazy. It's crazy. And what I mean by, and it's good. I mean that in a really good way. Like, it's nice to see, Scream fans. What do you call you guys? Like ghost heads? Ghost faces? I don't know. But it's pretty cool. And, because it is a big sort of franchise, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it when stuff happens. Tony and I from on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit this time last year, we watched Scream 5 for the first time together on the show. Like, neither of us had seen it, and we watched it for the first time on the show. And I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, it's definitely a Scream movie. As I've said many times on this channel, they played it safe, and I think they needed to do that, not because the Scream franchise was in the shitter in the ways of Halloween or Star Wars or Ghostbusters. Not at all. But because Wes Craven had passed away in 2015. And, there are people out there, like no one but Robert Englund, no one but Wes Craven. Those fans exist, right? I don't agree with that. I understand it. I can intellectualize it. I understand your emotional, nostalgic attachment, believing that this one person is the only person that can do whatever it is. But of course, we know that that's not true. But I understand it. And because Wes Craven passed away in 2015, and then we have another Scream movie coming out, even though it's from the filmmaking duo Radio Silence, who of course did the really awesome Ready or Not, which was also shot up here in Canada. Parts of it were shot here in Toronto, over at Casa Loma, which is a big sort of mansion type castle looking home. There was still that skepticism. There was still that, is this going to be, I don't know, nobody but Wes, nobody but Wes. So I think they delivered a familiar Scream movie. I think Scream 5 is a Scream movie, right? And I think they played it a little safe while adding some interesting dimensions there, right? In terms of, you got Billy Loomis's daughter, the Vision, what's going on with her kind of thing. That's interesting. That's helping to push things forward. But overall, it was and of course, the death of Dewey. I get all that. But overall, the structure of the movie is a Scream movie. It's familiar. And I think that was the right thing to do. You saw it with The Force Awakens because they needed to get everybody back on track. I know people love the prequels now, but I'm telling you, trust me. So they needed to deliver something safe. They did it with Halloween. They did it with Ghostbusters. Let's deliver a familiar story to get people back on board, and then we can take the risk and try some new and interesting things. And I think you're seeing that here with Scream 6. So they deliver Scream 5, something familiar to earn your trust and say, hey, look, we can deliver a Scream movie. I know we're not Wes Craven, but look what we're doing. Look at this. Hey, you liked it. You thought we were going to fail. You thought it was going to suck without Wes. Look what happened. So now that they've kind of gained your trust and all you Scream fans are like, okay, all right, it was pretty good. Okay. Now they're like, okay, now we're going to set it in New York. And it's like, which is actually Montreal. It was shot up here. And I have no doubt that they have some B-roll and obviously the skyline shots to set sort of, the establishing shots of where you are. But the movie was shot up here in Canada. And but nonetheless, the movie takes place in New York. So we got that teaser trailer, which was interesting. Which I thought was good. I thought it was actually a really good teaser trailer. Like as far as teaser trailers go, I thought it was a really, really good teaser trailer. And now we have the official trailer. I have to admit, the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, I don't know if I was expecting more or whatever. It's fine. It's a good trailer. But I guess I was expecting a bit more, perhaps. I'm not sure. So I got that hair on my nose. Feels like you got like a hair on my nose or something. Don't you hate that? God! I love my cat. Yeah, and so I watched it. I've watched it a few times. We'll go through it a little bit. I'm not going to play it because I did that once. I know some people can do that and nothing happens to them. For whatever reason, when I do it, YouTube is like, no! And I'm like, okay, fine. But we'll kind of go through it and look at little images or whatever. And I'm relying on you guys. I'm relying on all you big Scream nuts out there. And I say that with love. All you Scream nuts out there, I'm relying on you guys to kind of help me along as well. Because I know, like I can talk about Scream, like I could teach a introductory workshop on Scream. Do you know what I mean? In terms of the mythology and the lore and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not an expert on Scream. I'm not in the weeds and dealing with this person and that person, this person, that person, that. So I'm relying on you guys to kind of help me out as well. So if there's something that you've noticed in here that maybe I haven't, or something that could be quite significant that I'm not mentioning or glossing over, feel free to let me know. Feel free to let everybody know. Because, I get it. I'm just saying. Then the poster also dropped today. And here is the Scream 6 poster. Like anything, when you look at something long enough or you go back to it long enough, it will grow on you. But when I first saw this poster, I didn't like it. I made a tweet, a social media post a couple of weeks ago about how I am beginning to not beginning, it's been a while. I'm not a fan of floating head posters. Now, that's generally speaking. There are some floating head posters that are actually pretty good, right? Like we've all seen some which would be categorized as a floating head poster. And this is more floating torso posters. Okay, there are definite floating head posters out there. This is more maybe floating head and torso poster, but nonetheless, it's a close cousin of the floating head posters. And we've all seen floating head posters where there's just too many of them where, they're all looking in different directions, up and down. It's like the fucking Brady Bunch, you know what I mean? And then, I've seen some where I'm like, well, that actually works. That's not bad. I haven't really sat to figure out why that works over the other. It might just be maybe because there's only two heads. Maybe it's just one face. Maybe it's the way it's organized. Maybe it's stylized. Whatever, right? What is this, man? And I don't want to, knock on anybody's work here. I don't know, obviously, who made it, but the floating head poster of Scream 5, which I wasn't a huge fan of, is better than this one. It's better than this one. Maybe it's the color scheme. Maybe it's the white in the corner. Maybe if they had done something there as well. I don't know. I understand that. I get that the image sort of bleeds kind of, it looks kind of like the Ghostface costume sort of falling off of the torsos. I get it. I understand what I'm looking at, but I'm not a fan of this poster. I'm not a fan of this poster at all. There's too much. There are 14 fucking torsos on this poster. What is this, Avengers? And even the Avengers stuff is just like, but I get it. They're superheroes. I just, and I understand, the thing that's hard too is that you don't want to, really at the end of the day, a great poster, and I know there's fan-made ones out there like this, but really at the end of the day, what you would love to do, I'm sure what they would love to do is put Ghostface's face over the Manhattan skyline. It just screams it, no pun intended, right? The problem is that you've got Jason Takes Manhattan, which did that 5 years ago. And it was it's not, you don't want to fucking compare yourself to Jason Takes Manhattan. So now there are other ways to do it. I've seen some fan-made posters. I've seen some, what's his face there from Creepy Duck Designs. Shout out to that guy. I don't know who he is, but what a talent. What a talent in terms of creating all sorts of posters. And he definitely has a style. I've followed him long enough on social media now where I've noticed that he has, which is a good thing, right? He has his style, and, which is very cool. He's made some, and he obviously had a few that, or at least one that was picked up by Paramount to be official, which was really good. I'm not a fan of this poster. Now, I don't think this is Creepy Duck Design because this looks nothing like his style at all. There's too much. It just looks, I don't want to say amateur. Amateur is not the right word. I can understand why people might use that. People might also use fan-made. And when they say fan-made, that's another way of saying it looks amateur, right? Fan film, that's one of the stigmas, we filmmakers have to break through, right? When you're actually making a real movie. But it's just, there's just too much. There's too much. And I don't like the white around the bottom edges. I just don't like the poster. Now, maybe it'll grow on me. There will be other posters that will be made. They'll release something else. There'll be like an IMAX poster or a Dolby Digital poster. Or maybe Creepy Duck Designs is already maybe he's already making it and he can't obviously say anything because he's probably signed, an NDA and maybe he'll have a really cool one that'll come out and be like, yeah. This is just too busy. It's just too busy. And it's just, I'm just not a fan. Anyways, that's me. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. Maybe you love it. Maybe you think it's amazing. No doubt it will grow on you. It will grow on me as well. But as far as floating head torso posters go, not a fan. Not a fan, just a little too busy, a little too much going on there for me. But that's me. That's me. If you like it, great, but it just doesn't work for me. It looks too, just not a fan. Just not a fan of it. All right, let's go over to the other screen here. And let's take a look at, let me put me down a little smaller. We don't need your fat head in there, Dave. Actually, I'll put myself down. Oh, you know what? I'll put myself over here. Oh, no. That's not what I want to do. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Okay, so we're going to go through some of the trailer here. Again, I'm not going to, well, we'll see what happens here. Obviously, New York skyline. I'm digging that. People run. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, that's right. They run into the convenience store. I thought that this was a good scene. I enjoyed it. The one thing I will say about looking at the trailer and that Ghostface, the one thing that I do like about this scene is that Ghostface appears to be, and again, I'm no expert. Okay, I'm not a Scream expert. It's not like I'm talking Halloween. I fucking have like an honorary PhD. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to Scream, maybe I have a diploma. I have a diploma in Scream, right? I have my doctorate in Halloween. In Scream, I have a diploma. I graduated. I have a certificate. But the one thing that I do know about Scream, and again, it made sense in the original Scream and certainly maybe in its subsequent sequels because it was not taking itself too seriously, right? The whole idea of Scream was, to be this self-aware, it wasn't a spoof movie, but it was spoof-ish. It was poking fun at the horror genre, and it did it in a spoofy sort of ish kind of way, where a lot of the times in horror movies, things like that do happen, right? Where, somebody will fall and they'll be trying to, fumble with the keys. And there's something called real time and then there's movie time. And it's like in real time, the killer would have killed you. Like you wouldn't have had that much time to fumble with the keys. The killer's right there. He would have killed you. But in movie world time, you can fumble with the keys, which feels like 30 seconds, even though the killer is only 10 seconds behind you and the killer still doesn't catch you. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of thing. Like it looked at those sort of tropes and cliches and things like that, and made you self-aware of them. And that's why I think you saw Ghostface would trip over things, or he seemed a little sort of clumsy at times, and because there was a ton of stuff that Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson and company were trying to make a horror movie, but it was also fun. It wasn't so intense that it lost the ability to be self-aware. With this Scream movie, I'm getting a sense that, and again, we won't know until we see it. Obviously, they're not going to remove that DNA altogether, but just based on this trailer, now I'd have to go back and watch the trailer for Scream and Scream 2 and Scream 3 and Scream 4 and Scream 5. This is where my Scream experts, I'm counting on you guys to be able to comment below or, help me out. Maybe Ghostface has always looked this competent in every trailer. And then once you get to the movie, you're like, oh yeah, he's tripping over like air. Okay. I don't know. But the Ghostface in this trailer to me felt more competent, felt more in control of his actions. Not somebody that's going to trip over air or trip over a footstool and go crashing to the ground and let the girl get away. This feels like somebody that is formidable, that is foreboding and intense. And I think you get a sense of that in this scene. I think you really sort of feel that with the intensity of sort of how control he is in this scene. Now, again, we're just seeing clips. We're not seeing, full on. Obviously, I'm jumping ahead, but I don't know. I just got that sense that, and maybe again, too, maybe it's because we're seeing Ghostface use a gun and we've never seen him use a gun before. At least as far as I know, we've never seen him use a gun before. So I think when you put something as intense and as serious and as life-threatening and as we're not fucking around in the hands of Ghostface, such as a shotgun, you've just elevated the seriousness of the character and the movie to some degree, if you stay with it, another level, right? I don't believe we've seen Ghostface use a gun before. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not really sure. But I get that sense that he's, but again, this is also a trailer. We hear a line in here, where Ghostface is like, but I'm different, blah, 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 blah. It's like, we've heard similar things like that before. Those are great lines to help sell the movie, sell the story, get your asses into the movie theater. Whether he ends up being different or not, who the hell really knows? Who knows if that line is even in the movie? I'm sure it is. But I got a sense of intensity here. But to be fair, maybe it's largely because we're seeing Ghostface use a fucking shotgun. That's probably what it is. Paramount, Spyglass, thank you very much. And then this is this here is, of course, our main protagonist. I know that we would love to believe that Jenna Ortega is our main protagonist because she's gone off to become this big star at the moment, but she is a supporting character in this. At least she was in 5. I have a feeling she'll be also in 6 because obviously this is an ensemble piece. This is our lead. This is our, for all intents and now, as far as we know, now they could change things up in the movie, but as far as I know, they're going to want to continue to follow Sam along the way because she is the daughter of Billy Loomis. And she says a line in this trailer where she says something to the effect of, you've come for me or you want me, which is interesting. Now, I know that there are a lot of people that think, Stu's back. Look. I've made it no secret that I don't want Stu to come back, not because I hate Matthew Lillard, not because I'm trying to shit on everybody who wants him to come back. I'm thinking about it like I'm trying to remove my emotional attachment, remove the nostalgia factor, and just think, well, does this make sense? Now, I understand. I do know that he was going to come back in Scream 3. That was one of the ideas they were going to do. They didn't do it. I'm glad they didn't do it. But could Stu come back? Yeah, of course. There's always a possibility that he could come back. Is the Ghostface in this movie Stu? There's always a possibility. But I'm hoping it's not. However, if it's true that this is a little more personal and that Sam is correct, and this isn't just a trailer line or a line that, because we've seen movies like that. There are lines in movies that are great for trailers. There are lines in movies that you hear in trailers you don't hear in the movie. There are lines in movies that, again, fans can overthink things. Fans can overthink it and over intellectualize it, I think, and to think that it means more than what it really actually is. But for the sake of this video, because that's what we're doing here today, Sam does make it seem like it's personal and that this Ghostface is after her. Could it be Stu? Maybe. Or, and you're probably not going to like this, but what if it isn't Stu? And what if it's Stu's son? What if Stu also had a kid that nobody knew about? Listen, before Scream 5, nobody knew. I don't think we knew. I mean, hey, I'm counting on my PhD Scream fans out there. Remember, I just have a diploma here. I don't think there was any inclination that Billy Loomis had got some other chick pregnant before he died. Did we? I don't remember that ever being a thing. Was that mentioned in Scream? Was it mentioned in 2, 3, 4? Was it? Maybe it was. And if it was, then okay, cool. But who's to say that Stu? I mean, listen, it's high school. They're running around banging chicks. I mean, who's to say it didn't happen? And for years, he's been sort of in the shadows, and now he finds out, oh fuck, my dad's best friend had a daughter. The reason why I saw Evil Alex say, what about a daughter? True, but I think it would be interesting if you made it a son because Loomis had a daughter. So therefore you have, the male and the female. Maybe they end up teaming up, in like a Scream 7 or something like that. I don't know. I'm purely speculating. But that's something that as much as it might make a lot of Scream fans sort of groan, listen, I don't think it's any more grown than Stu coming back either. You know, you just don't have an emotional attachment to to his son as you do him, right? You want to see him because it reminds you of your childhood. It's nostalgia. It's Matthew Lillard. It's Stu. Yeah. I totally get that. But from a story perspective, I'm thinking maybe he had a kid too. And if they can make it feel organic and work it into the narrative, it might be something really interesting. Again, I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but if she's got a feeling that it's personal, why would she feel that way? There's obviously something we're going to find out where she feels that way. Maybe Ghostface lets her live. Maybe she receives a call from Ghostface and there's something he says that reminds her of something her father, did, or, something like that. And then the filmmakers are leading you to believe that it could be Stu, only to find out that it's not. It's his son. And it's like, oh, and they'd be around the same age, maybe a year younger, maybe a year older, well, actually, no, they'd be around the same age. Fascinating stuff. I find that fascinating. And that's interesting. That's interesting to me. I might be on board with that. Not sure. All right. Anyway, so yeah, we do know that she says that. So this obviously, they're in some sort of brownstone in Manhattan or something. I don't know. That's a shot there that I don't think that's from the same moment. Let me go back here. Yes, and she says that line. Here she has, okay, and this is, and again, maybe I'm thinking too much into it. I don't know if that's Gail that's holding that or if that's Sam. Sam says her line, and then we see this, and then we see... Yeah, so it does look like it's Sam holding it. She's outside. Where is she? It looks like to me that she is at maybe the grave site of her father. I don't know. She's outside. Maybe that's where she is. No idea. Again, I'm just speculating. She could be outside on a park bench nowhere near a fucking cemetery. But it looks like, again, trailers can be deceiving, right? They can cut things to create things look like certain things when they're not actually those things. Is she looking at the Ghostface mask here? It looks like she is. I mean, that's what it sort of looks like she is when you cut the two together, right? Yeah, that looks like that. Well, is this Billy Loomis's mask? Is this Billy Loomis's mask? Did she get her hands on it somehow? How did she get her hands on it? Did Gail have it? I don't know, right? And then we see Ghostface wearing a mask that looks kind of tattered and torn as well. It's Stu! Not necessarily. Maybe it's Stu's son. Right? Who was able to get his, and that's the connection. It's like, oh, these two decaying, weathered looking Ghostface masks. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm saying shit and I'm leaving it up to you guys. All you Scream fans out there, after the show is done today, jump into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on this. But nonetheless, fascinating stuff. She also could be looking into some sort of bag at an apple that she wants to eat. I don't know. But yeah, she did that line saying, there's something about me, or, he wants me or whatever, is said over looking at the mask and things like that. And remember, although trailers can be misleading, trailers, to hide, spoilers, trailers are also designed to tell a mini story within 2.5 minutes. And a lot of trailers will use symbolism and cinematic language to help convey those things. Now, sometimes the cinematic language can be misleading, and sometimes it can be right on the nose, right? So when you have a voiceover from Sam saying there's something about, it's personal and blah, 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 over her looking at this Ghostface mask that may or may not be your father's, yeah, that's cinematic language, right? They are clearly trying to tell you that maybe there's a connection to her past with this new Ghostface. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it is Stu. It could be an offspring or something like that. Who knows? But fascinating nonetheless. And then, of course, this could be like in a brownstone. Now, this could be in a completely different different location. We have a girl here in a nightie who's waking up. I don't think that location is necessarily the same moment as this moment here. Obviously, they're downstairs looking at the door. It's just that these two shots cut well together. For a trailer, it works, right? You got, I mean, how many times have we seen in a trailer will there be 5 people going like this and looking up and down, but it's not, they're not all reacting to the same thing. They're at different spots throughout the movie. It just works. It works well for that moment in the trailer. So are they at a brownstone or something? Maybe they're in New York. They're at a brownstone and maybe somebody lives there. Maybe it's Gail's brownstone. I don't know. And this looks like it could be Ghostface. Of course, when we go along here, we do... Oh,
hey, what's going on, man?
When we go along here, we do get a shot of him, I believe. Yeah, looking through there. Okay, so he's coming. That's a cool shot. I like that. Kirby! All you Kirby fans out there! Kirby, 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 Kirby. It's nice to see her back, of course. She's got blonde hair, longer hair. I know that all you, nostalgia is definitely going to, looks like she's, oh no, her eyes are, I thought her eyes were rolling back in her head there and I made her look possessed. There we go. That's better. Now, again, Kirby was stabbed at the end of Scream 4, but we don't know if she died. Well, she didn't die. She's back, and she says a line here, something to the effect of, yeah, we have a history together, or something. And obviously, Kirby probably lives in New York now, going about her business. Is she one of the killers? I don't know. Somebody sent me a message earlier today saying if I think Jenna Ortega would be one of the killers. Here's the thing with that. Look, it's always possible, but Jenna Ortega is 5 foot nothing. She's like 5'1". She's very tiny. And, you would know, like look, if you're 6'1" and, the ghost face is 5'10", it's, you know what? Okay. But if the ghost face is 6 foot and then the mask comes off and it's Jenna Ortega, I'm going to be like, yeah, no. No, you can't, not unless there's a little ghost face running around, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, that doesn't mean that Ortega is not going to be bad somehow or turn somehow. I don't know. But I don't think she would be, at least the ghost face that we see in this trailer, because we know there's usually always 2. I don't think that's her at all. Could it be Kirby? Maybe, but she's not very tall either. But interesting. It's going to be cool to see what her role is. How big is her role, right? How big is her role? What is she going to do? How is she going to help? Again, her role is going to be very similar. It's that connection to the past that, she has experience. So our new protagonists are looking to Gail for help, but then Kirby shows up as that additional help, and yeah, it works. It totally works. There, yes, of course, Gail is there and Jenna Ortega. I mean, look how small she is, folks. I mean, let me just go back here. There you go. There's Ghostface. Look out. No, I doubt it. She's standing beside Sam. So if she ever came in on Sam as Ghostface, she'd be like, sis, is that you?
Shut up, it's not me.
It's gotta be you. Look at you.
Shut up and act scared, goddammit.
Be funny. But cool. And then, yeah, that's a cool shot. It's a cool shot. Ghostface doing his thing. Yeah, that's cool. So now this is interesting. This is something that I am fascinated by. This is something we have to talk about here. What in the Scream hell is this place? Now, I am going to refer to my Scream experts, my PhD, my Scream team. This is some sort of museum, some sort of, what is this? Is this something that Gail had created secretly? I mean, are these the actual costumes from the Ghostface killers? Are these the actual memorabilia from the Ghostface killers? Because it seems to me that wouldn't those things be locked up in an evidence locker? Wouldn't those things, although maybe not. I mean, maybe since all those were solved, because remember, each Scream movie does wrap up. We know who the killer is. It's not like Elm Street, Friday, or Halloween, where, the story continues because the killer is never apprehended. No, they do. Each Scream movie solves its case. So maybe they're sold off on eBay, or I don't know, you can get your fucking hands on the knife that was used to kill, Billy Loomis. Or, I don't know. I mean, it's like, or the gun, What is this place? Is this like, I'm very fascinated. Yeah, you see, Ryan Maley says you can see stuff from every film, including the cast of 5. Yeah. So I'm like, what? I'm very curious on how this place is justified in the narrative. Now, again, we are a self-aware sort of movie, but it's not like this is, a Wes Craven New Nightmare where everybody's playing a fictional version of themselves, right? It's not like they're going to go in and Kirby's going to go up to her photo and go, "Oh, look, that's me when we were on set for Scream 4. No, she's not going to say that, right? Because in the narrative, she's still playing that character. So what is this place? It looks like a museum. It looks like, and you got all the Ghostface costumes, and then there's this shot here. What the fuck is this? What the hell are these replicas? Are these the actual bloody sweaters and shirts from the actual crime scenes and things like that? Maybe because it's New York, and there's a lot of museums in New York. Maybe this isn't a Scream museum, but maybe there's a fictional museum in New York called how they there's the Museum of Natural History, and there's the art museum, and maybe there's like not a museum for Scream, but like a serial killer museum, or awful history, things in history we're not proud of museum, death museum, or something like that. And this is just the Scream section. Maybe this is the Scream section. Do you know what I mean? And Gail, being a reporter, I don't know, maybe they snuck in there. Maybe she's the curator. Maybe she is the museum expert. And she's like, "Guys, come on in here. Look at this." All the lights turn on. Everyone's like, "Oh, Gail, you need fucking help, dude." Now, I don't know, but it's interesting. Now, again, my Scream experts out there, maybe you guys can be able to figure out how this factors in better than me. But the only thing I can think of, you see, somebody said the Stu shirts. Yeah, okay, well, why are they there? The only thing I can think of is that this is not a museum dedicated to Scream. That would feel very sort of like, really? But maybe, like I said, in some sort of serial killer museum or something like that. And then, you go down the corner and up the escalator and you're at like the Scream wing, and this is where they are. That's interesting. And listen, if there's going to be a place in the world where there'd be something like that, it's New York, New York. So maybe, I don't know. But, I'm curious. Of course, I think he's a cop, that guy, Gale. And look at that. Look, we have those are Ghostface costumes. Now, again, the experts can ring in if they know the amount of costumes that are up there. So what is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10. Is that the amount of killers we've had? We've had 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there should be 10 up there because there's been 2 killers a movie, right? No, there was only one killer in Scream 3. I think there might have been only 1 in 3, but I stand to be corrected. If there's 9 or 10 up there, then I would imagine those are the costumes from each movie. Why are they here? What is this place? How does Gail have access? How does it feel like she just knows her way around? How did she get access? Clearly, this is either a museum that people can walk through, or it's storage of some kind. It's Area 51 for Scream. I don't know. But it's creepy. It's creepy nonetheless. Like, look at this shit. Look at this shit, man. Is that Sam? I bet you that's Sam walking up to her father. It's her father. Oh my God, that's what's happening right there. That's what's happening right there. That is Sam walking over to her father and picking up the knife that was used. Is that her knife? Did she can you just pick this up? Is she gonna turn bad? Is this like a Palpatine thing? Good. Look at this. Billy Loomis right now. Oops. Oh, Billy Loomis. Damn it. Billy Loomis right now. Walking over. Yes. Good. I can feel your anger. Take your weapon. Strike me down with all of your hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete. That's what's happening. Maybe it is. And Billy Loomis is, look at that. She's looking at her father right now going, I can feel it. It is my destiny. It is your destiny. It's her destiny. It's her or is she going to change it? Is she going to do what Rey did in the Rise of Skywalker? I don't care what you thought about the movie. I'm talking about the principle of the story. Is she going to be like, no. She's going to throw the knife on the ground and be like, no, God damn it, no. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I have no idea. But it kind of, I'm just saying. She's looking at her father right there. Good. Take your weapon. She's got it. But I have no idea what this place is. It's fascinating. Then, of course, there's the phone call that Gale takes. Now, some people have said to me, PhDs in Scream have said to me that this is the first phone call that Gale has ever taken with Ghostface. I believe there was a scene that was shot for one of the previous movies, but it never made it into the final cut. Is this true? My Scream experts out there, is this true that this is the first time we are seeing Gale take and have a phone call with Ghostface on the phone? Is this true? Let me know, folks. Let me know. I want to know. But nonetheless, she takes the call. Ghostface shows up. He runs at her. And he leaps over. See, this is he leaps over that couch. He didn't trip over that couch. He leaped over that couch. He's got some agility that maybe past Ghostfaces didn't. I don't know. But nonetheless, Gale, you can tell that she actually, and I can tell as somebody that deals a lot with audio, I can tell, and it's not, well, when I say I can tell, I don't mean that it's edited poorly. It's edited fine, but I can tell that there's an edit after she says, and maybe you can too. She says something like, I'm going to kill you, but there's a little bit of an edit after after two. And so when we watch the movie, it is likely she says, I'm going to fucking kill you. Maybe there's going to be a red band trailer. I'm not sure. Maybe there is one already. I'm not sure. I've only watched this one. But she's going to fucking kill him. And she shoots through the door, and then Ghostface comes through the door, lunges at Gale. No! Will Gale die? Will she die? There goes the gun. Look at that muzzle flash right there. Look at that. Oh no, there goes the knife. No! What's gonna happen to Gale? What's going to happen to Gale? Nobody knows what's gonna happen. Nobody knows. She may be dead. And then we come up into this, keep going. Yeah, just showing a bunch of clips. A lot of fast cuts. We go to the subway car again, and then of course we know what happens in the subway car. Blah 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 blah. Scream. Da 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 da. So yeah. So I mean, those. I just thought we'd quickly go through it on sort of a Cliff Notes kind of in a Cliff Notes sort of way. Those are some interesting things that I picked up on the first couple of times that I watched it. It does feel a little more mature, perhaps. But again, I'm not the biggest Scream fan, but I'm curious to see it. If anything, to see not if Stu's back, whatever. I'm I'm more curious to see this new trajectory for the franchise. How is it going to play out? How is it going to be too different? Are people going to go, yeah, it was okay, but it's not really Scream anymore? Or is it going to be the breath of fresh air and the injection of adrenaline that the Scream franchise needs? What is it going to be? I don't know. Hey, if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on what you thought of the trailer. Let me know your thoughts on what you thought of this poster here. I'm not a fan. Floating heads, floating torsos. There's 14 of them here. Not a fan of this. But maybe you are, and that's cool. That's all right. Anyway, let's jump over to the comment section and see what all you are saying about this. Let me go and grab some of those earlier super chats that came in. Let me just go over here. YouTube, if you're watching... They're not watching. You really got to figure out a way to retrieve past super chats that go by in the chat rather than having to jump over to this other section over here. It's very frustrating. Okay, super chat comes in from Julian Salgado. Nice to see you, buddy. Sends in $5. Thanks, man. Says, they really bring attention to the heavy breathing to Ghostface in the trailer. Almost like he's struggling. I have every reason to believe it's Stu. Listen, there's always a possibility. I don't believe that it is. I think there's a higher probability that it's his offspring, something that we didn't know about, and that maybe it's his offspring. It's the offspring of Stu that is going to be the catalyst that is going to potentially push Sam over the edge. You see, right now Sam is on the fence, right? She has darkness in her, but she's not going that way. Maybe this offspring of Stu is like, come. It's not Stu that's going to do it. It's the offspring of Stu. That's what I think. But it's just a prediction that could also be very wrong. Josh McKenna sends in $9.99, says, why do some actors like Brad Pitt agree to cameos? It seems random for a big actor to appear for only 5 seconds. They can have any role they want. Why agree to a small role that John Doe could play? Well, there's a variety of reasons of why that could be the case. I will say that part of the reason, so it would depend, right? There's a variety of reasons why. I'll give you a common reason why you'll sometimes see Brad Pitt or a big A-list actor in a movie for a cameo where you're like, that's kind of weird. Sometimes they happen to be shooting a movie at the same time in the same city or at the same location. Right? So if you're both shooting at Pinewood, or you're both shooting at L Street Studios, or you're both shooting at Warner Brothers on the back lot, or whatever the case is, or you both happen to be there, then sometimes, whoever is directing, one second here. There we are. Trying to get that back. There we go. Whoever is directing, the movie might be good friends, right? Like, for example, if I was shooting a movie at Warner Brothers and, I don't know any A-list actors, but I'm trying to give an example and say like Bruce was there doing something, whatever. I might be like, hey, dude, do you want to come and, do this little thing? Cause you're going to be there on Thursday. I think it'd be kind of fun to have you there and whatever. And if he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, whatever. And he signed a day contract or whatever, get paid for it. That happens a lot. So now that's not the only reason, but that is a reason that sometimes the actor is friends with the filmmaker or knows somebody who's in the movie or happens to be shooting another film in the same city, down the street. Things like that can happen. Or, it could be that when the writers are writing a movie, they sit there and they think to themselves, who would be great for this cameo? Brad Pitt. It's like a day shoot, but fuck, it'd be so funny to have him. Wouldn't it be awesome to have him? And there's a reason why it would be great specifically for him. Maybe because the cameo is is poking fun at, handsome, debonair men or something like that. And they're like, it'd be funny if we got Brad Pitt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's get Brad Pitt. That'd be really funny, So they reach out. They reach out to his agent, or they reach out to him personally because they know him or whatever. And he's like, yeah, fuck it. I'll do it. Sure. No problem. Sometimes that happens too. So there's a variety of reasons why. There isn't just one reason. It's not that they need the work or they're desperate. It's just because sometimes it's just fun for them because they think the movie's going to be funny, or they know the director, or they know, the actor, right? Maybe the star of the movie is one of their good buddies, and they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do it. Wouldn't you? If one of your best friends, like if you were in that position and one of your best friends, and you were an A-list actor and your best friend's an A-list actor, they're like, hey, dude, you want to come and just do this fun little thing? What are you going to say? You'd be like, yeah, sure, why not? If you can, if you're allowed to, right? If you're, if you have the time or whatever, I'm sure you'd be like, fuck it, let's do it. That'd be fun. So, yeah. All right. Okay, another super chat comes in from... Get these here. Fast Forwards 29 sends in $4.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, what's up, Dave? I didn't love or hate the trailer, but I'm intrigued by it and cautiously optimistic. Yeah, I feel the same way. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I was kind of, meh about it at first, I think is sort of where I am. But the more that I've watched it now, it's all right. It's good. Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad trailer. It's not a bad trailer, but it's not... It doesn't, it feels like Scream, which is good. I'm just curious if, is this movie going to be a Scream movie that's just set in New York with all the typical Scream cliches, and the only thing that's really different is just that it's New York? Or are they really going to lean heavily into the New York sandbox and all the different things you can do, the subway system and the street, the alleyways and the fire escapes and the, all like Times Square and, I don't know, the Brooklyn Bridge and, like there's so many things you can do in New York. Are they going to lean in on that, or are we going to hardly see it? I mean, we're going to see it with establishing shots of the skyline, and we're going to know we're in New York because we're going to see them kind of walk into the subway. Okay. But beyond that, like, are they really going to make it? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I always want things to succeed, of course. I never want shit to fail. Fast Forwards 29 sends in $9.99. Says, I like the old dirty weathered mask, although it seems like they're kind of going in that Halloween 2018 way with it. Also, Ghostface seems more mature. Wonder what that's going to mean or who it is. Well, yeah, I don't know. And are there two Ghostfaces, or is there just one Ghostface? Ooh, I just had maybe... I wonder if Jenna Ortega is compromised. And no, I don't want to. She's dating Stu's son, who is the actual Ghostface. So even though Jenna Ortega doesn't dress up in a Ghostface costume, she's playing nice and luring her sister. Oh, shit. Maybe that's what it is. I might have to do a separate video on this just so it's up on my channel. I mean, I can cut this here too, but yeah, it's tough with the long live stream. Excuse me, the long live streams. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go out on a limb. My prediction is, and I have no bait, it's just my prediction is that it's not Stu. It's the offspring of Stu. It's his son. And that's why it feels personal. That's why the mask is dirty, because it's the weathered version of either of Stu's mask, perhaps. Maybe he got his hands on it somehow. And Jenna Ortega is maybe in on it, trying to, even though Sam believes that, you know what I mean, or whatever. And I don't know. That's something to get your wheels turning, all you Scream fans. You heard it here first, by the way. You heard it here first. I'm just saying. Don't let anybody else steal my thunder. Unimpressive Media sends in €5. Thanks, buddy. Says, maybe the killer is narratively aware of the shortcomings of past killers, such as their clumsy mobility. Might be a bit on the nose, but interesting. It's possible. It's possible. Yeah, that's entirely possible. Maybe, I don't know how, maybe through news reports or reading about it, or just caught, maybe because they're so obsessed with it. They studied the past killings and figured out common mistakes and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's entirely possible. It's interesting. Very interesting. Fast Forwards 29 sends in another $10. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. Says, I'm going to be honest with you. Even though it might have been strange and not make sense, I was disappointed that Stu didn't return in the last one. So I hope he shows up in this one. Listen, you're not alone. You're not alone. There are a lot of people out there that want Stu to come back. I don't. I'm not in that camp because I don't think... I think it's because... Look, I mean, it's always possible that you could, of course, it's always possible that you could write a story that it absolutely makes sense, you know, and you sit back and you think this makes perfect sense. But I think it just feels like it's not like the Kirby situation where we saw Kirby stabbed, but we don't know. Right? Stu had a gigantic tube television dropped on his head. The probability, and on his head, electrocuted. The probability of him being alive is highly unlikely. So I look at that and I think unless the reasons to bring him back are so strong, he's not just back. You see, you can't just bring Stu back. The reason and justification for his return, the whole thing, not just how he survived, but the reason he still cares, the reason he's still giving a fuck. And I understand that Sam could play into that role. I get that. But it's got to be so tight and make so much sense and be so, yes, ooh, ironclad. Because if it isn't, if there's any holes anywhere and it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, sure, okay. It just, in my opinion, devalues and sort of minimizes that great ending of the original Scream. Do you know what I mean? And so if you're going to bring him back, because it's not like he died off camera, right? It's not like he just disappeared. No, he had a gigantic tube television dropped on his head and was electrocuted. So it better make sense. It better make sense. That's why I'm kind of like, but maybe he had a son or a daughter. But I think because Loomis had the daughter, it would be nice for that juxtaposition to have the son come in. That would be interesting. That's interesting to me because that seems more plausible. Yeah, you're kind of doing it again. You go, okay, so Loomis had a kid and now Stu had a kid. Okay, we're sort of recycling that again, but narratively, I believe it. Loomis was running around maybe behind Sidney's back, maybe not, maybe before Sidney, who knows? Who's to say Stu wasn't doing that? It's not like Stu was a nice guy. He was a piece of shit. Stu and Billy were pieces of shit. They were pieces of shit. So who's to say that he wasn't? It's entirely possible. Entirely possible. So I'm kind of leaning towards his offspring. And he's going after Sam because, look, our dads, like, those were our dads. I got to go after her because I can bring her to there's a little bit of Star Wars in there. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but I think it'd be kind of cool. All right. Did I get all the super chats? Am I behind? Let me just see. I don't think I am. I don't think I'm behind in the superior chats. I don't think so anyway. All right. Let me see if I can get some non-super ones here. Okay, what do we got here? So people are saying, Evil Alex says, you see in the trailer Jenna and the main girl back to back look in different directions. It's more than one. I have to watch the trailer again to understand exactly what what scene you're talking about. I'll take a look at that. Again, trailers can be misleading, but yeah. Winter Rose 4444 says there is one part of the trailer where Tara is giving a villainous look. You could be right, Dave. I know the image you're talking about. It didn't come up when I was skimming through it, but I know the image you're talking about. Yeah, you're talking about, hang on, let me just go back to the other screen. You're talking about, probably happens in here somewhere. Let me just play this. You're talking about, oh, it's got to be back here then. I just don't want to get dinged. I don't want to get dinged. Okay, yep. Jeez, I gotta. I know is it before this? There it is. That's it. Okay, so yeah, because I did see that and I did notice that. So this could be something where, whose hand is that? Maybe Jenna. Oh, Jesus. Maybe she's fucking hanging off a fucking apartment building in downtown New York. Sam's got her hand. Jenna's looking up at her, giving her that look like, fuck. Now it's like a Sophie's Choice kind of situation. Holy shit. Do I let my sister go? Do I let her die? And she's giving her that look like, yeah, it was me. Yeah, I'm banging Stu's son. Come to the dark side with us, Sam. Come to the dark side. And holy shit, Sam has to make Sam has to make that choice where it's like, what the fuck? What are we going to do? I'm just going to fucking drop her. And drops her and she falls to her death. It's entirely possible. Woo! It's entirely possible, folks. I don't know, man. I don't know. Fast Forwards 29 says another generous super chat of $9.99. Thanks, buddy. And says, I agree and understand what you're saying, but I guess I felt a little cheated since they brought Billy back in the last one and Stu never showed up in any way and I kept waiting and expecting it. Well, remember, they didn't bring Billy back. They brought him back in... Billy is dead, right? So they didn't bring him back. He was just a vision that Sam kept seeing. Right? They were using Billy, basically what the filmmakers were doing were using Billy as sort of the catalyst to facilitate and communicate through to the audience the darker side of Sam. So nobody else was seeing him, right? We were seeing him because it's the filmmaker's way of showing us what Sam is dealing with and sort of those dark visions and delusions that she's been having. But he actually wasn't there. So to bring Stu actually back and have him alive, you're actually going even further than you went with Billy. So that's why I think maybe the best thing to do is to bring Stu back through his offspring. You know, we didn't even know. So now it's like it's the kids of the original killers. You know, look, some fans are going to love that and go, oh, that's kind of it. That, you know what I mean? And some won't. No, that's fucking stupid. It's like, well, it's more, I believe, I don't think it is personally. I mean, maybe it's a little cliche because we've seen other sort of things like that before. But if it's done well and it makes sense, it makes more sense to me than Stu being alive. I'll be honest with you. I think most people, and it's not that Stu being alive can't work. It's not that you couldn't write it and make something where it totally makes sense and it absolutely works and it's justified. And I'd be the first one to go, yeah, okay, no, that totally makes sense. It's not that you can't do that. But I think most people, and I'm not saying you, I'm just saying generally speaking, I think most people that want Stu back, well, they want him back because of nostalgia. They want to see Matthew Lillard in the role again, right? You know what I mean? They're not necessarily thinking about, well, does this really make sense? Is this the right trajectory for the franchise? Where do we go from there? Is he going to come back just to die again? Okay, then what was his purpose? Just nostalgia? So I tend to think a little beyond that. That's cool, but does it make sense? Let me think here. And like I said, I understand that they were going to do it with Scream 3. I get that. But we're far removed from that now, 23 years. And I think it's a little less realistic now than it's ever been. But his offspring, I'm kind of digging that, man. I'm kind of fucking digging that. I think I might upload a separate video where I just mention that. Because we'll see. Eddie Chase sends in $5, says, hopes, number 1, please no Stu, just stop, okay? 2, Gail to die. 3, no more than 3 survivors. Ooh, you're going dark, buddy. 4, chase scene. Oh yeah, you'll get, for sure. We saw, a few right in the trailer. 5, Quickie Mart scene is just a fake Ghostface. Ooh, so you're hoping that the convenience store scene is a fake Ghostface. Interesting. I'm kind of hoping it's not. And I'm kind of hoping it's not because I like the idea of Ghostface using a gun. Now, if a gun now, here's the thing. Does the gun, whatever gun it is, a shotgun, a machine gun, a 45, whatever gun he's got in his hand, does it then now become part of his regular repertoire? Does it become what he uses? It's in his catalog. It's in his Rolodex of things he uses. That really ups the stakes. That really ups the seriousness. I mean, the old saying, you don't bring a knife you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. They don't say that for nothing. I mean, obviously a knife can be serious, yes, but a gun is far more serious and far more deadly. So I actually kind of like the idea of the stakes being raised and Ghostface not necessarily having a gun on him all the time, but to see him use a gun. I mean, obviously we do see that he uses his classic knife, but yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Does he just use it for the convenience store scene? Probably, because the shotgun looks to be the shotgun that the convenience store clerk had, right? So he brings out the shotgun, gets his ass kicked, Ghostface takes the gun, that kind of thing, right? So does Ghostface then go behind the counter, look for shotgun, ammo, stock up, put it around his fucking chest, take the shotgun, and walk off into the night with a shotgun? Probably not. Probably not. It's probably just in that scene, but it at least elevates the character a little bit to show that he's not afraid to use it. He will use it. So I would assume then, now that you've established that, at any moment in time where he comes into a situation where he could use a gun, he will. So that does raise the stakes. Like, for example, if he kills Gail, why wouldn't you take her gun? You would take her. That better happen. If he kills Gail and doesn't take her gun, take the gun, because it raises the stakes. All right, let's see here. Alex Ryder says, I want Stu to come back and not die and have the franchise just be over. So you want Stu to come, Alexis Ryder, my apologies. I want Stu to come back and not die and have the franchise just be over. So are you saying that you want Stu to come back and win? Basically, I think is what you're saying. So you want Stu to come back, kill everybody, and just be the last man standing, and then the credits roll. I'm assuming that that's what you mean, because that's what I interpret from that. Scott Monroe says, if you kill people wearing the Ghostface costume, aren't you then by definition an iteration of Ghostface? Yeah, I think that's the idea, right? See, because each Scream movie has a different character, there isn't one person that is Ghostface. I actually think it's a catch-22. I actually think that's been part of a negative for the franchise, but ironically also a huge positive for the franchise as well. But yeah, no, that's it. You are Ghostface when you put on the costume and you start killing people. Technically, Ghostface isn't real. Like, he isn't a person. He's a symbol, really, at the end of the day. That's because multiple people can play him and have been him, right? There's been what, like 10? Now with this new one, there might be like 12. You know, people have donned it. So he's a symbol, really, at the end of the day. Okay, super chat from Fast Forwards 289 again, sends another super chat. Thanks, buddy. Sends in $4.99, says, what if based off past experience with Ghostface always being shot? Maybe this is one uses different weapons like guns to give himself a better chance. Yeah, I think that would make sense to me. I don't know if they've gotten that deep with it, but it absolutely would make sense to me to do that, to actually learn from the mistakes. You know, this is somebody that, learned from his father's mistake. I'm just saying. I'm going to ride that theory until the movie comes out, baby. I'm going to ride that theory until the movie comes out. And if I am right, and I could be completely fucking wrong, and I'm not saying I'm the only one that's thought of that, but I haven't heard anybody else say it. I'm saying it right now. If I am right, you heard it here first. Place your bets. But yeah, totally. You would think that he would learn, and or she, from past mistakes, and absolutely, want to not make those same mistakes. Jesus, I don't know. Yeah, I've talked about it a lot here today, but I think after I'm done this show, I'm going to quickly just do like a 5-minute vid just so I have that theory up online as its own thing. I mean, I can cut it here from, the show, but that'll take a bit because we're talking about so much. But yeah, fuck, I'm totally going to do that because I want that, because I think I actually kind of like the idea, to be honest with you. Everything from Ortega being evil to Stu's son being Ghostface. All right. Super chat from Eddie Chase sends in $5. Thank you, Eddie. Says like Quickie Mart scene with gun, got vibe that he used it against guy by fake Ghostface. I meant masked robber, just so happens to have Ghostface mask. I see what you're saying. So, and you could be right. And so you're saying that it's a robbery in progress. It's a burglary. He's not going in there to look for Sam and Tara. They just are collateral damage. They just happen to be in there. And he's just robbing the convenience store with a Ghostface costume. Yeah, maybe. It's possible. I hope that's not it. I hope it is that he comes in there after them. Because if you remember at the beginning of the scene, they run in there, right? At the beginning of the trailer, they run in there seeking help. So they were already being chased by Ghostface. So that chase started somewhere else. So I don't think he was in there robbing the place or going in to rob it. I think he went in there to kill them. So I do think it is Ghostface. But that's my opinion. Nick Meese sends in just $4.99. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that, buddy. Awesome. Thank you so much. And then Nick follows up with $4.99 again. Thank you, Nick. And says, Stu's offspring being spiritual makes more sense. Obsessed true crime fan finds Stu old primitive online journal buried in the internet archives. Ooh! Oh! I like that, Nick. I like that. Maybe that's part of it. Who knows? I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it. Who knows? I mean, maybe it won't be, but they've got to do something, right? And maybe Radio Silence was like, listen, we don't want to bring Stu back, but what can we do that's sort of a happy medium? Do you know what I mean? What can we do that fans would be like, oh, it's not Stu, but oh, it's his son. Interesting. You know what I mean? What can we do to kind of, and who knows, maybe, like I said, I am open to the idea of Stu coming back if it's properly motivated, right? It has to be properly motivated. He can't just be back, and he can't just be back to die. I'm not saying he can't die, but I'm just saying don't bring him back for purely nostalgic reasons, right? Like with Billy, I was okay with it. It was a little jarring at first because I was like, oh, why are we seeing Billy? What is? And then as the movie went along, I was like, oh, I see what they're doing. Okay. So he's not back. They're just using him to communicate to the audience. Oh, I kind of like that. That's so he's back for all intents and purposes. That's kind of cool. I like that. Okay. So, now that doesn't mean everybody's going to like it, but once you understood the justification for it, it became properly motivated. So it has to be properly motivated. You can't just bring him back. Why is he back? What's he doing? Where has he been? And I know that we can come up with reasons, but to make all those reasons fit and to plug all the holes that someone may be able to go, okay, cool, but what about this? And you might go, oh yeah, that's right. You know what I mean? So it's got to be ironclad. You can't just bring them back. I'm open to it and okay with it if it's properly motivated and it makes sense. It serves the story. I think it makes more sense that it's an offspring. Something we didn't know about, like Billy, who's seeking out his dad's best friend's daughter, his spiritual sister, for all intents and purposes. Fast Forwards 29 sends in another $9.99. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that, man. Says, last one for me. Great content as always, Dave. Thanks, man. Also off topic, I was wondering if you ever got around to watching Dark Night of the Scarecrow, and if so, what did you think? Keep up the great work. I haven't yet, man. I haven't. I have been so neck deep at the moment in the development of It's Me, Billy, Chapter 2. It's just been crazy busy on that. Exciting things coming down the pipe on that very soon. We'll have some things to announce very soon, but in regards to the Indiegogo campaign, all that kind of jazz. But I haven't yet. But it is on the list. I've got a list of movies that people have recommended to me that I've got to watch. So I will do it though. And thanks for the super chat, man. I appreciate that very much. Fauci Cinema. Matt Fauci says the killer is actually Chuck Norris. No doubt in my mind. You see those it actually is him. It's actually like 80-year-old Chuck Norris. Can you imagine 80-year-old Chuck Norris? Stuntman says, Stuntman Mark says, yes, Stu's nephew was killed in Scream 5. He's played by Kyle Gallner. So the dude with the muscle car that gets killed after pissing on the wall. Okay, so Scream 5, I've only watched the movie once. I'll have to watch it again. So Stu had a nephew in Scream 5. That's interesting. I don't know why even bother with that. That seems, okay. And he got killed after pissing on the, that was Stu's nephew? I remember the scene. That was Stu's nephew? Oh, I don't remember that. Maybe you're right. I have no doubt you are, but that's interesting. Okay, cool. Interesting footnote there. Let me see. Just going back. Gary Rangel says, do you think Dermot Mulrooney is someone to fill in Dewey's shoes? Will he be the new Dewey? I know no one can replace Dewey, but do you think he's going to fill in his shoes? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't, like, if you mean Stewie, yes, hello. If you mean, I was just making sure I had the right actor. If you mean Phil Dewey, excuse me, I had Stewie from Family Guy on the brain. If you mean to fill in Dewey's shoes in the sense of being a cop that is, trying to track down the Ghostface killer and is working with Gale, sure. If you mean somebody who is, although he became less like he was less like this in Scream 5. I think he became less like this as the franchise went on. But certainly in the very first Scream, I mean, he was like, 6 bricks shy of load, right? I mean, there's no way that he would ever be a police officer, right? But that was part of the charm. That was part of the sort of kind of, it worked well in the spoofy, self-aware, not taking itself too seriously nature of the original Scream. As the films went on and as the films matured a little bit, I think the character of Dewey had to mature as well, or it would be like, look, nobody this incompetent would survive for this long. He would never be a police officer. Like, this is ridiculous. I don't necessarily think you're going to see, I don't get that impression by the way he looks, his body language, the way he's carrying himself, that he's going to be basically like a fumbling idiot. I don't see that. But if you mean replacing the Dewey character in the sense of that he's now the cop, sure. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think that's probably true. Yep, for sure. Let's see here. I'm just going back, looking to see if lots of new people I'm seeing here, which is great too. Great to see lots of new avatar faces. Lots of familiar people as well, which is great. Talking amongst yourselves, which is also great. Let me scroll down here. People giving lots of hearts. I guess somebody's leaving. Juan Rivera says, Ghostface is an army of robots programmed by Skynet. Maybe. You never know. Yeah, I want to know what that museum place is. Like, what is that place? What is it all about? Who's in charge of it? Why is that stuff all there? I think it is because each murder was solved and it's not outstanding. This stuff was donated to, it's a museum. I don't think it's a Ghostface museum, but it's like I said earlier in the show today, it's part of a bigger, it's a section of a museum. And there's all this shit that's there. And I don't know. I think there's a lot to be said for I'm just really feeling like there's no doubt that Sam is going to continue to struggle with this pull that she has to the dark side. She's going to continue to struggle with that. It's there in the trailer, right? They lean heavily into that. I don't think Sam's going to go ultimately, but maybe, see, something that Tony Michael and I were talking about on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Scream 6. Tony had said, and I agree with him on this. He said, we've never seen a Scream movie end on a cliffhanger. In terms of one that's carried over, the same story, the same narrative has carried over into the next film. Now, obviously, the broader universe is all connected with the same characters and the same overall arcing story, but each story is each film is its own separate adventure, right? Its own separate situation, its own separate Ghostface. We've never seen a Scream movie end where it hasn't wrapped up. We maybe don't know who the killer is, or we do know, but everybody's dead. And like, what the hell, right? I would love to see something like that. I think that would be interesting to see something like where it ends, but it clearly ends on a cliffhanger that is going to move on into the second part. What if it ended on a cliffhanger where we found out the cliffhanger is that, holy shit, this is Stu's son. Oh my God. No fucking way. And he's like, listen, your dad, my dad, they were fucking outcasts, or, they liked, whatever bullshit he's going to spew to try and convince her to, you know what I mean? And maybe there's something that, because he's going to use Sam's weakness into figuring out what her destiny is. It's very Star Wars, but it's not Star Wars, but but these are common themes, right? The themes that Star Wars plays into, right? The themes, the principles of the themes are tropes and themes in stories for millennia, right? Star Wars isn't the originator of these themes, right? They just capitalized on them and used them and told this kind of a story against the backdrop of the space opera. But you can take those themes, and they've been in other films too, and you can take those themes and apply it to a Scream movie, you know, whereas maybe Stu is like, or Stu's son is like, listen, you know, it's your calling, you know that, because she's struggling with that. She's struggling to find her place. What is her place? Maybe she's still dealing with the residual effects, with the delusions, with the, you know, the nightmares, with the images, you know, and she needs to know her place. Who was her father? You know, all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe it's going to happen. You know, I don't know. I think it's, and then it ends on that moment and you're like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. No. What now? Right. And when you, if they're going to do a trilogy, who knows, maybe there'll be a Scream 8, 9, and 10. But if you look at sort of what the rumors are out there at the moment, where they're doing a trilogy, 5, 6, and 7, the second chapter is your second act. And second acts are supposed to be dark and end on uncertainty and a very dark note. And if you were to end this movie on that dark note, oh my God. And then of course, Scream 7 would be your third act, would be your redemption arc. But Jesus, I mean, it's entirely possible. It's crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Super chat comes in from John Dez, sends in $9.99. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Says, hey, Dave, excuse me. If you had any input on the next Terminator installment, what direction would you go in? Give Veda my love. John Dez gives you his love, Veda. She's out there sleeping somewhere. Thanks, John. I would just remake it. I would just remake the whole thing. I think the Terminator franchise right now has been played out. That's not to say that you couldn't make a sequel to T2 or what have you and somehow redeem yourself. But it's such an uphill battle. It's such an uphill climb that I just personally think the best thing to do at this point is to remake the Terminator. But which maybe it's done from an A24 or some sort of studio that doesn't go big with it, that goes small. Maybe it's like a $5 million budget, $10 million budget tops. Make it gritty, make it dark, make it grimy, make it District 9 feeling. You know what I mean? I mean, like in that gritty, real kind of vibe to it, you know, very tangible. Just remake it. You know, and go in that direction. That's what I would do. Doesn't mean people, but I would like to think that people would be more on board with that than they would another Terminator sequel. And then it gives you the opportunity to also reinvent the mythology and reinvent the lore, right? And you take things from the past, but it just gives you that opportunity to start fresh. You know, and if it's cast well, and if you've got a really great director and a really good story, you can really set yourself up for something special. I think people feel, I mean, obviously Terminator T2 especially is in the pop culture zeitgeist. It is, for some people, two of those films you just do not touch in terms of remaking. I get it. I understand it. But if they were going to move forward with something that was grittier and grimier and horror and I would be like, let's just redo it. Let's just redo it, guys. You know, it's been 35 years. It's been nearly 40 years since the first Terminator. We can redo it. You know, it's not like it was just made, you know, where it's like, what are you doing? No, it was made like when I was 5 years old, the first one. I think we can remake it, you know, but keep it small. Keep it small, keep it self-contained. You know, it's about a guy coming back to kill, you know, Sarah Connor so she doesn't get pregnant. It's the same thing. You can add some things to it now, right? Expand it a bit, add some things to it. But that's what I would do. Like the last thing I want to hear is, well, they're doing another Terminator sequel, this one called Terminator Redemption, and it's no Genesis and Dark Fate, and no. This is going to be the real sequel. No. Just stop it. Give your clean slate. That's what I'd do. That's what I would do. All right, did I get all the super chats? I think I have. As far as I know, anyway. I believe I have. Just want to make sure. I don't think I'm missing any. Let's see here. I got off on the Winter Rose 4444 says, I think that shot of Sam looking at the mask in the daylight is going to be the final shot of the movie. Ooh, maybe she takes the mask. Maybe the mask is left for her with a threatening note. Maybe. I like that. I like that, Winter Rose. Winter Rose. That's entirely possible. Could be. The final shot. Maybe there's like this interior voice monologue. You hear her sort of talking through it, like what's going to happen. She's looking at it. And yeah, that if that was the final shot, hypothetically, to your point, if it was, that would, again, it all depends on how they do it. But that, just going at face value on that note, yes, that would be something that I would think would clearly communicate to the audience that not that she's going to become Ghostface, but that she is still struggling with her inner demons. She even says something to that effect in the trailer. We hear her say something about, I'm still dealing with a lot of shit from my past, or, whatever it says. She's dealing with a lot of shit. She's still struggling to find her identity. And she's struggling. And is this her identity? Yeah, maybe it leaves. That's the cliffhanger. It's kind of like, I don't know. Is she going to? I don't know. You could be right. Let's check out and see what's happening with the poll. All right. 306 of you have voted. What did you think of the Scream trailer? 75% of you have loved it. 4% of you have hated it. And 21% of you have been, meh, it's okay. When I first watched it, I was in the meh group. I was like, that's okay. Since I've watched it a couple more times, I'm like, yeah, no, this is all right. I don't love it. I'm not like, oh my God, but I certainly liked it. I thought it was fine. As far as a Scream trailer goes, it's fine. So interesting indeed. Eddie Chase sends in $2. Thanks. Eddie says, GF a cop? Shrine items be an evidence locker? Well, that's not, that doesn't look like, are you saying that, like, that's not an evidence locker, right? I mean, that's clearly on display. Like there's a stage, right? That the presentation of everything there isn't, I mean, that's not an evidence locker. That's not a police evidence locker. That's a, come on in, pay $10 and go take some photos. I mean, that's what that is. That's why I'm like, is this a museum? Like, what is this? It's the present, assuming that's what you're talking about. It's the presentation of it, right? It just seems so crazy, so grandiose, so, I mean, all you need is some spotlights shining down onto the stage. It's crazy stuff. Let me see. Jasmine Ferries says, I think the real reason that the killer is targeting Sam is because that is related to the killers. Well, I was just talking about that earlier. In the show, that I don't think it's Stu, but I think it is Stu's son. I think, or an offspring. It's a cousin, or not a cousin, but a nephew. But I guess they did that already in 5, and he was killed or something or whatever. No, I think it's his son. It makes sense. Billy had a son that we didn't, or excuse me, Billy had a daughter, that we didn't know about, and Stu had a son we didn't know about. That's my prediction. Aaron Zukowski says, hey, Dave, what was the consensus on the bacon poll? Yeah, if you follow me on social media, which if you don't, what are you doing? You should be doing. All my links are in the description. My links to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check them out. I put up not a poll. Well, I guess it was kind of a poll, but not really. I found this meme where it gave like these 6 different images of the different stages of bacon being cooked. And I said, what kind of a bacon person are you? And most people are what I thought they would be, like a 3 or a 4 or a 5. But you know what? 6, it was like a piece of burned bacon. I'm telling you, burned bacon is good when you dip it in some dip it in some ketchup and it's very good shit, man. I'm just saying. It's good stuff. I don't know, but I think a lot of people were picking like 4 and 5. So people like their bacon crispy. If I can pick up a piece of bacon and it droops down like this, now I feel the same way about pizza. If I pick up a slice of pizza and the end of the pizza is going and it's like drooping down, no, it's got to be out. My bacon, I got to pick it up and it's got to be stiff. It's got to be out. I got to not crunch where it's like hard as a rock. I don't mind a bit of chewiness, but it can't be like uncooked. It can't be that, goddammit. It can't be that. Okay. Eddie Chase follows up and says, no, I know it's not the evidence locker, but wouldn't those items be traditionally found in evidence locker and stolen? A cop would have access. I see what you're saying. So are you saying that, but it just feels weird that it would be on display like that. Now maybe it's just, they're taking some creative liberties because it's a movie. I get what you're saying, and I agree with you that you think it would be, but to my point earlier, all the investigations have been solved because we know who the killer is at the end of every movie. It's not like they're ongoing investigations. We know who the killer is. The killers are dead. We know. So they wouldn't be keeping this stuff for a potential trial or for, again, I'm not a police officer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a DA. I don't know how all that works in terms of evidence when something is solved and it's a foregone conclusion and it's done and it's over. What does happen to the evidence? Do they just keep it in a locker indefinitely? Do they destroy it? Do they what happens? I don't know. So each Scream movie is a separate story. Each has a different Ghostface. And at the end of each movie, the mystery is solved, Ghostface is dead, and the story is over. So any evidence that would have been gathered from those movies, where does it go? Right? And, this doesn't look like, it's just the presentation of it. It looks very staged, right? It doesn't look like, if Gail had kept Stu's bloody shirt, and the knife and, whatever, you'd think she'd have that in a box in her attic, like that kind of thing. And she's got to go and, and tear off the tape and open it up. It's like, holy shit, you've got that stuff. Well, listen, when the case was solved and dead, we didn't need to go, like something like that. I wouldn't expect her to, unless she's obsessed, or somebody's obsessed. Maybe it's Kirby that's just obsessed or something. And I don't know, but it's just strange to me. It feels a little strange. It feels like it's staged. Like I said, you pay $5 at the door to go and have a look at that shit. But yeah, maybe cops have access. I have no idea. All right. Danita Brown, hello, Danita, says yes, because Gail says it's a shrine in the trailer, so you're right, it could be a museum. Yes, you are correct. She does say shrine. That is true. So that is to my point, right? It's staged. It's a shrine. It's presented, as that. So just what is this place? Is it a museum? Is it secretive? Is it Gail? She's just got all this cash and she just decided to do that. And I don't know. No idea. All right, what's our time here? It's we've been going for an hour and 40 minutes. All right, coming up to 3 o'clock. We'll go another 5 minutes or so, and then we will wrap it up because I want to quickly do that video as well and get that up as well. Let me see. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, hope you're doing well. Me and my family, our arrangements for my grandma who passed away yesterday. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. My condolences, Chester, to you and your family for the passing of your grandmother. I'm very sorry to hear that. That means we will have a family talk about the viewing and funeral. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Chester. And again, my condolences to the passing of your grandmother, the passing of a loved one, a family member. It's never easy. It's never easy. I've been through it many times in my life, and it's always tough. So my condolences and stay strong and surround yourself with your family right now because you need each other, and it's very important. Let's see here. Antonis Andriota says, who do you think will be the killers in Scream 6? Well, I'm telling you right now, I think one of the killers is Stu's son. Yep, and you'll have to watch the stream to figure out why. Or, like I said, when I get off the stream here, I'm going to quickly do a video where I mention it because I think that's who I think it's going to be. That's who I think it's going to be. I'm loving it. Shamrock Ball says, I'm not a streaky bacon fan at all. Back bacon all the way 4 to 5. There you go. There you go. Juan Rivera says, off-topic question, what is one of your favorite books you have read? I'm reading The Richest Man in Babylon and then Den of Thieves. Any recommendations? Juan, I'm not a big reader. Now, obviously, I can read, but when it comes to fiction or even, non-fiction books, I'm not a big reader. Like I don't read books, essentially. I don't know what it is. I've never been somebody that reads books. If I am going to read a book, it's probably going to be like a biography on somebody or some sort of fact-based book. Like maybe I'll read Harrison Ford's biography, or I'll read, I was reading a book called Erasing Death by Dr. Sam Parnia, talking about near-death experiences, NDEs, all that kind of stuff. I find that kind of stuff fascinating. So, I was reading that. But in terms of like a fiction book, like a Stephen King book or something, nope, I don't. I don't know why. You would think that I would, but I just don't read books. Now, I know like nowadays you can get them on audio tape. I love when people say, oh, yeah, I read that book. And what they really mean is that they listened to somebody else read it. So I guess I could, maybe audiobooks would be better for me just because of how I am and what I'm doing while I'm doing work. I can have it on in the background. Maybe that might be a thing I might do, but actually picking up a book and reading it. Yeah, I don't normally do that. It's funny. So unfortunately, I don't have any to recommend for you. So my apologies on that. All right, let's see what the final results for the poll are. 318 of you have voted, and the final results are 74% of you love the trailer, 20% of you thought it was meh, and 4% of you hated it. Really? Some people hated it. I would love to know why you hated it. Hey, if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts on why you hated it, if you hated it. 318 of you had voted. Okay, I think I've got all the super chats. I don't believe that I missed any as far as I know. So, yes, so that is good. Okay, and we're coming up to, an hour and 45 minutes. All right, folks, well, listen. That is going to do it for me here on this stream. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to my amazing moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Cody Snyder, and Andrew Stevens. Thank you for doing all that you do. Thank you for the generous super chats that also came in today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with me for a little bit as we talk Scream I was going to say 5, Scream 6, the trailer, and of course the poster as well. If you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts on the trailer, on some of the speculation that I had here today, although I am going to do a video in a moment. And also let me know your thoughts on the poster as well. You are all amazing. Thank you for your continued support to the channel and watching as we talk about horror movies and movies here on the channel. It's always fun to do. My name is Dave McRae. If you want to follow me on social media, you can. All of my links are in the description, but there are they there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. That's going to do it for me. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Alrighty. Cheers.